This is E.T., and this is Andrew Cuomo, current New York governor, son of former governor Mario Cuomo. His brother is Chris Cuomo, presently a CNN talking head. Chris recently verbally assaulted a man who referred to him as Fredo. Fredo, a character from Mario Puzo's book and 3 Godfather films that are based on that book. Fredo was portrayed in the films by John Cazale. He is Don Vito's first and least competent son, whose inattention led to his father being shot, and whose corruption led to his betrayal of his brother Michael. Fredo is the least noble of the Corleone family. But back to Governor Andrew. He suggested that being called Fredo, as was his brother, was less than complimentary and it deserved a comeback, which, in my opinion, was true. But what the governor said later indicates that he is ignorant of the very subtle, sometimes not so subtle, themes in both the novel and Francis Coppola's Godfather films. The governor leaped beyond the Fredo allusion to the Godfather book and movies, and he said that they, and I'm using his words, represent a negative anti-Italian stereotype. They were anti-Italian. Well, let's examine all of that. Point 1. Negative stereotypes, yes, were portrayed in The Godfather, both in the films and in the book, and most of those characters were not Sicilian. For example, there's the WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Kay Adams, played in the movie by Diane Keaton. She married Michael Corleone. She was naive, self-absorbed. She aborted her son purely out of spite. Then there is the Irish captain, McCluskey, played by Sterling Hayden. There's the Jew Hyman Roth, played by Lee Strasberg, whose relationships were based only on the cash nexus, not anything approaching loyalties. And then there's Don Fanucci. Now, he's Italian, but not Sicilian. You can see him in the second movie. A very corrupt Don of the Black Hand Society. He was put to rest by a young Vito Corleone, played by Robert De Niro. And then as far as discrimination goes, there's Tom Hayden, played by Robert Duvall. He is the non-Sicilian adopted son of Don Corleone. And for reasons of blood, he is unable to advance beyond the role in the family of consigliere. And back to corruption. There is the WASP Nevada Senator Pat Gary, played by J.D. Spradlin. He is very corrupt, sex-obsessed, and he's a hypocrite. Sicilians do come off in the movie and the book looking bad, not just Fredo. But they do so because they have been seduced and corrupted by the culture and politics of the dominant non-Sicilian establishment. And that leads us to point 2, something that the New York governor fails to comprehend, and something that places the Godfather epic among the classics, in my opinion, of literature and film, right alongside of Moby Dick and Gone with the Wind. Now, that something is this. The Godfather series is laid out, and it's understood, maybe unconsciously, as a metaphor of the greater society in which the family tries to operate. And the characters of Don Vito Corleone and, to a lesser extent, Michael, played respectively by Marlon Brando and Al Pacino, functioned as the prince, as delineated by Niccolo Machiavelli in the book The Prince. These 2 dons must possess the ferocity of the lion and the cunning of the fox, but it always must be in the interest of La Familia, whose relationships are always to be personal and predicated on obligations of friendship, honor, loyalty, and blood kinship. And those relationships are being threatened by the very seductive influences of the outside society that offers power and money. Now, one example of someone being seduced would be Tessio, played by Abe Vigoda. He betrayed the new Don, Michael Corleone, and he explains, as he's about to be taken away and killed for his treachery, that, and these are his words, it was only business. And this is the theme of the Godfather series, something lost on the somewhat dim New York governor, that a Machiavellian prince, in this case the two godfathers, Don Vito and Don Michael, will selflessly act in the interest of the family held together by bonds of friendship and honor and blood. And they do so by employing all that is necessary as both the lion and the fox. It's a family that is constantly under threat from that greater society in which it lives, that greater society that is atomistic and based on greed for sex, money, and power. A greater society without nobility or loyalty, beyond any temporary alliance that's necessary to acquire something. Those Sicilians who come off badly are those seduced by the outside society. This theme, noble dons, Vito and Michael, and their loyal henchmen, acting in the interest of La Familia and against the corrupt, amoral outside society, is something understood, and it is desired, perhaps unconsciously, by readers of the book and viewers of the Godfather movies. So, one can only conclude that the book and films are not anti-Italian, or more specifically anti-Sicilian, but rather a bitter critique of those who make up the outside society and its amoral culture. That amoral society that cut away at the bindings of honor, loyalty, and kinship, the strength of the lion and the cunning of the fox in the interest of the larger group. Something that I think most of us would like. Do you agree with what you just heard? If so, hit that thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Comment below, subscribe to this channel, and keep in mind that's an offer you cannot refuse.